Part 1. The Approach. I have come here because the evening asked it of me. Not in words, the evening rarely speaks in words, but in that particular way that certain rooms make themselves known at certain hours, a kind of gravitational pull toward warmth and stillness, and the particular quality of amber light that I can see, even now, glowing softly ahead of me as I move through the long stone passage that leads to the Orangery. The house is quiet at this hour. It is that suspended time between the last of the evening and the true beginning of night, when the house seems to hold its breath, when the clocks in the distant rooms tick just a little more slowly, when the corridors take on their most ancient quality of stillness, stone and wood and plaster all settling into themselves, all releasing the business of the day with a long, slow, collective exhale. I have left the main rooms behind me. I have left the lamplights and the warmth of the library, and I am walking now through the narrow stone passage that connects the east wing to the glass room at its end, and the flagstones beneath my feet are older here, less polished, the cold of them coming up faintly through my soles, even through the thickness of my slippers. The walls of the passage are unadorned, plain stone, the colour of old bone, with the faintest bloom of age along the lower courses, where centuries of damp have left their quiet signature. There are no paintings here, no furniture, nothing to interrupt the simplicity of stone and shadow, and I find that simplicity entirely welcome. There is a thinness to the air in this passage, a coolness, and the faint smell of old stone, mineral and neutral and very clean, that sharpens as I walk and gives the body a sense of moving through something, of transition, of leaving one world for another. Ahead, at the end of the passage, the door stands slightly open, and through the gap, through that narrow aperture of warmth and amber, I can see the soft, trembling light of the candelabras. 2 of them, one on either side of the sofa, their flames moving very gently in some imperceptible current of warm air, casting their light upward against the great dark iron pillars that rise from the flagstone floor to the glass dome far above. I push the door open and I step inside. Part 2. The Dome. The room receives me with its whole extraordinary self, and for a moment, just a moment, I stand still in the doorway and simply look. The dome. I have been in this room many times, and still the dome requires a moment of quiet acknowledgement each time I enter. It is vast, not in an overwhelming way, not in the way of a cathedral or a railway station, where height is used to diminish, but in the way of something organic, something that grew rather than was built, something whose proportions have always been precisely suited to human shelter and human wonder. The frame is iron, dark and intricate, a lattice of curved ribs and slender cross members that rise from the stone walls in sweeping arcs, meeting at the apex far above me in a complex junction of joined metal, forged more than a century and a half ago by hands that understood that a structure meant to hold glass against the English weather must be both beautiful and uncompromising. The ironwork is very dark tonight, almost black in the candlelight, the metal absorbing the warmth of the flames rather than reflecting it, so that the structure of the dome appears as a dark, intricate drawing against the glass, a map of arcs and angles traced in shadow against the rain-streaked sky. The glass itself. It is old glass, very old, with all the imperfection that age and handcraft have introduced into its surface. It is not flat, not perfectly smooth. There are distortions in it, slight undulations that catch the candlelight differently at different angles, that give the rain running down the outer surface a slightly magnified, slightly rippled quality, as though the rain is falling not on glass, but on water itself, a thin film of still water tilted overhead like a mirror. The rain comes down in slow, thick rivulets, each one finding its own path through the slight valleys of the dome's curvature, and through the glass the outside world is visible as a deep indigo blur, the colour of the sky at this hour between dusk and true darkness, a rich, bruised, beautiful blue that presses gently against the glass as though it would like very much to come in, but understands that it cannot, that the glass is old and sure, and the iron is strong, and the inside of this room belongs to warmth and amber and the smell of lemons. The rain on the glass is the first sound I truly hear, now that I am inside. It is everywhere at once, coming from above, from every angle of the dome's curve, a soft and continuous and wholly encompassing sound, the sound of rain on very old glass being carried by iron from every direction toward the centre of the room, toward the sofa, toward me. It is not loud, it is not dramatic, it is simply constant and gentle, and as perfectly suited to this moment as any sound I have ever known. The sound of being inside when the world outside is wet, the oldest and most reliable of comforts, dressed tonight in its most architectural and extravagant form. On either side of the sofa, set back just slightly, framing the space between the candelabras, the two citrus trees stand in their great terracotta urns. I notice them now, as I always do, with a small, quiet pleasure that is entirely disproportionate to their size and entirely appropriate to their beauty. They are old trees, for potted trees. The trunks have thickened over years into something genuinely woody, gnarled in the most gentle way at the base, the bark a pale silvery grey that catches the amber candlelight and holds it as a kind of warmth along each curve. Above the trunks, the branches spread in a shape that is neither wild nor rigidly pruned, but somewhere between the two, the shape of something that has been tended with understanding rather than control, allowed to go where it wished, guided only when necessary, the result being a canopy of deep, glossy green that hangs over the urns with a fullness and a density that makes the trees appear to be genuinely, contentedly alive. The leaves are very green, not the bright, assertive green of new growth, but the deep, serious, polished green of mature citrus foliage, a green with blue in it, a green that is almost waxy at the surface, catching the candlelight as small points of amber brilliance scattered among the dark, the way stars distribute themselves against a summer sky. The leaves overlap and layer, and where the candlelight catches the gaps between them, it illuminates brief, warm corridors of air between branch and branch, each one glowing for a moment and then returning to shadow as the flame moves. And here and there among the leaves, not many, not yet fully ripe, but present and luminous and very beautiful, the lemons. They are that particular shade of yellow that exists only on lemons just beginning to ripen, a yellow that still holds traces of green at the stem end, a yellow that is not yet complete but is already extraordinary, vivid and clean against the dark foliage, catching the candlelight with a brightness that seems almost to generate its own light, as though each small fruit were holding a little warmth inside itself, borrowed from the sun and stored for evenings like this one. The scent is very subtle, not the sharp, concentrated perfume of cut fruit. It is much quieter than that, more diffused. It is the scent of living trees in a warm room, a light, clean, faintly sweet brightness that sits above the other smells of the space, above the cold stone and the iron and the beeswax of the flagstone polish and the warm wax of the candles, and lends everything a faint note of freshness, of something alive and slowly ripening, of the south carried into the north and kept warm through an English winter. I breathe it in as I move toward the sofa. It mingles with the candle smoke, clean beeswax barely present, and with the cold mineral breath of the stone floor, and with the faintest trace of rain air through some small gap in the dome's ironwork, a complex layered smell that the body receives not as a series of separate notes, but as a single impression, a single word, if scent were language. The word would be something like safe, something like held, something like home, in the oldest and most elemental sense of that word. I am almost at the sofa now. The candelabras on either side are tall, taller than I am, their iron stems branching into 5 arms each arm holding a column of cream beeswax that has burned down perhaps an inch this evening, and will burn for many more hours yet before it begins to gutter. The flames are steady, very nearly still, in this sheltered room, so far from any external draught, but not entirely still, because fire is never entirely still, and it is this slight, continuous movement of the flames that gives the room its particular quality of life, its sense of gentle, breathing animation. The shadows they cast are long and slow, and move with the unhurried patience of shadows that know they have the whole night. Before I sit, I stand for one more moment and feel the floor beneath my feet. The flagstones of this room are very old. They were laid, I have been told, at the same time as the dome itself, cut from the same northern quarry that supplied the building stone for the manor's east wing, brought south by the same generation that commissioned the ironwork and the glass, laid by the same patient hands that set each stone with lime mortar and a level eye and an understanding that a floor must outlast its makers by centuries if it is to mean anything at all. They have done exactly that. They are laid in irregular courses, not entirely random, but not rigidly formal either, each stone a slightly different size and shape, fitted together with the pragmatic artistry of craftsmen who worked with what the quarry gave them, and made it beautiful through arrangement rather than uniformity. The surface of each stone is worn smooth at the centre, smoothed by the passage of generations of feet, each crossing, leaving its infinitesimal contribution to that polish, and rougher at the edges, where the wear has been less, where the original texture of the cut stone is still faintly present, still carries the ghost of the chisel. The colour of the stone is a warm, muted grey, with traces of gold and buff, and, in certain lights, the faintest rose, the characteristic palette of sandstone, the colour of old country, of deep time, of the earth turned over and compressed and turned over again through ages that make the building above it seem almost young. They are cool against the soles of my slippers, not cold. The room is warm enough. The candles and the residual warmth of the evening in the glass panels have seen to that. But there is a coolness in the stone that comes from its depth, from the earth beneath it, a coolness that is geological rather than climatic, the temperature of deep places rather than of weather. It comes up through my soles as a kind of grounding, a reminder of mass and permanence, the stone saying quietly and without insistence, "We have been here for a very long time, and we will be here for a very long time more, and whatever this evening holds, it is held by something solid and sure and very old." I find that I am grateful for this coolness even now, even as I move toward the warmth of the sofa. The two sensations, the cool stone below, the warm amber light above, feel perfectly complementary, the one making the other more itself, the coolness sharpening my anticipation of the warmth making the memory of the coolness something almost pleasant, a contrast that the body holds and appreciates without being asked to. I cross the last few flagstones. I reach the sofa. It is positioned directly beneath the centre of the dome. This, I think, is the thing that makes this room what it is. Not the ironwork, extraordinary as it is, not the old glass or the citrus trees, or the smooth stone floor, but this, the fact that the sofa is centred beneath the dome's apex, so that lying here, or sitting here, or simply resting here with one's eyes half open, one looks up through the lattice of dark iron into the glass overhead, and the glass above holds the sky. And tonight the sky is that deep indigo of evening, and it presses warmly against the old, imperfect glass, and the rain runs down it in long, patient rivulets, and the effect is of being inside something that has been designed, at its most fundamental level, to make a human being feel held by the universe, rather than simply sheltered from it. I sit down. The sofa receives me with the particular generosity of old, good furniture that has been sat in often enough to have learned the general contours of human comfort, that has softened and shaped itself over years into something that is no longer quite an object and has become more of an offering. The cushions are deep and full, upholstered in a fabric the colour of old cream, a warm, living white that has taken on the faintest gold from years of candlelight, and the seat is wide enough to curl upon, wide enough to disappear into, wide enough to arrange oneself in any of the several postures of genuine rest without ever reaching an edge. I reach for the throw. It is folded over the arm of the sofa, as it always is, as it has been every evening I have come to this room, folded not with military precision, but with the casual, practised fold of something that is handled every day, that belongs here as naturally as the citrus trees belong in their urns. It is cream wool, a very particular cream, the colour of the inside of a walnut shell, of unbleached fleece, still carrying the faintest warmth of the animal it came from, and it is extraordinarily thick. I have handled many wool throws in many rooms, but this one is in a category entirely its own. The weight of it is the first thing. I lift it from the arm of the sofa, and the weight comes immediately into my hands, a satisfying, definite, substantial weight. The weight of something that means to keep you warm, the weight of genuine warmth rather than the suggestion of it. It is not light and decorative, not a blanket that exists primarily to be seen folded over the arm of a sofa in the afternoon light. This is a working thing, a warm thing, a thing that has one purpose and fulfills that purpose with complete commitment. I unfold it, and it opens across me with the slow, heavy grace of something that has never needed to hurry. The texture of it against my hands is extraordinary, a deep, dense, slightly nubbled wool, the individual fibres of each strand woven so tightly together that the surface has become something unified and complex, neither rough nor smooth, but somewhere entirely its own, simple warmth made tangible. I pull it up around me. It falls across my lap and over my legs with that same satisfying weight, and where its edge reaches the sofa, it spills onto the flagstone floor in a long, slow pool of cream wool. It is longer than it needs to be, this throw, longer by perhaps 2 feet, the excess of it lying against the cold stone as though it has arranged itself there by choice, as though it is comfortable. The weight of it against my body is complete and immediate, a full-length pressure that is not oppressive, but is, there is no other word, deeply, profoundly right, the kind of right that the body recognises below the level of thought, in some older part of itself that still remembers what warmth means at the most essential level. I am warm. Not the sharp, immediate warmth of a fire or a radiator, but the building warmth of good wool and body heat, and the amber-lit air of a room sealed against the rainy evening by old glass and iron. A warmth that arrives gradually and thoroughly, and settles into every part of me with the patience of something that knows it will not be interrupted. I arrange myself against the cushions, the throw pulled to my chin. Above me, through the lattice of the dome, the indigo sky presses softly against the rain-streaked glass, and the rain runs down it in long, slow lines, and the candles on either side send their amber light up the dark iron pillars in warm, trembling columns that shift and breathe with each movement of the flame. I look up. The dome, from this angle, from directly beneath its centre, is one of the most extraordinary things I know. The iron ribs converge at the apex with a complexity that is almost mathematical, each rib meeting the others at the exact same point, the junction worked in cast iron into a rose-like form, a small iron flower at the crown of the dome from which all the ribs descend in their arcing, diverging paths toward the stone walls below. Looking up at it through half-open eyes, with the candle flames trembling at the periphery of my vision, and the rain making its continuous, encompassing sound against the glass on all sides, the structure appears almost organic, the skeleton of something natural, the internal architecture of a great shell, or the bone structure of a leaf magnified to the scale of a room. The glass panels between the iron ribs are each a slightly different shade of transparency. Some are very clear, some carry a faint patina of age, a barely perceptible cloudiness that diffuses the light through them rather than transmitting it, giving those panels a softer, more interior quality, the quality of old windows that have absorbed their share of weather and translated it into something gentler. The rain on the glass makes each panel a moving thing, the water finding new paths with each gust that crosses the dome's exterior, the rivulets catching the amber candle light from below and the indigo skylight from above, and combining them in slow, liquid motion across the glass. I watch this for a while without thinking. There is a particular quality to the watching, not engaged, not analytic, but simply receptive, the eyes open and receiving light and movement without the mind making anything of it, the way the eyes of a very nearly sleeping person rest on something without seeing it, processing light and shape without translating them into meaning. The iron ribs, the glass panels, the rain moving across them, the indigo pressing from outside, warm and dark, the amber rising from the candles, warm and gold. The two lights meet somewhere in the middle of the dome, and what they make together in the old glass is something for which there is no name, but which is entirely, inexplicably beautiful. The rain is everything now. I have stopped noticing it as a separate thing, and it has become simply the room, the acoustic envelope of the room, the thing that the room is made of at this hour, more present than the stone or the iron, more defining than the candlelight. It comes from above and from all sides simultaneously, because the dome curves around and over me and carries the sound of every raindrop from every angle of its surface toward the centre, toward here, toward the sofa, toward me, so that I am, in the most literal architectural sense, at the focus of the rain's sound, the point to which all of it is directed, the place where all those individual strikes on old glass are gathered and combined into this one, encompassing, perfect sound. It is a sound that has no beginning and no end. It did not start when I entered the room. It was here before me, and it will be here long after I close my eyes. And the continuity of it is part of its particular comfort. Not a sound that is happening, but a sound that simply is, that has always been, that the room has always held beneath its glass in the same way that it holds the citrus trees and the cold flagstones and the amber light of the candelabras, as something permanent, something constitutive, something without which this room would not quite be itself. The individual sounds within it are not individual. They merge too quickly into one another to be heard as separate events. But if I attend to it gently, without effort, I can hear the slight variations within the whole, the heavier strike of a larger drop, the brief acceleration when a gust crosses the dome and sends the rain against the glass at a sharper angle, the long, smooth sound of the rivulets running together in the dome's lower curves, gathering weight and speed, and joining the voice of the downpour to make something that is no longer quite the sound of water and has become more like the sound of time itself, moving past. Beneath all of this very faintly, the candle flames. They do not make a sound that can quite be heard. They are too small, too steady in this sheltered room, but they make a presence, a warm, breathing presence, and if I am very still, and the rain softens for a moment in one of its slight natural pauses, I can hear the faintest whisper of the flames, a sound like breath, like the sound of warmth itself given voice. And beneath the candles, the room's own deep quiet, the silence of stone and iron in the rain, the silence of old things standing in the weather as they have always stood, the silence of the citrus trees holding their leaves very still in the warm air, each leaf glossy and patient, each small lemon bright and quiet in the candle light. I close my eyes. Part 3. The Sinking. This is the part that cannot be rushed, and I have learned not to rush it. The transition from wakefulness into sleep is a country with its own gradual geography, and I am somewhere near its border now, not across it yet, but moving toward it with the unhurried inevitability of someone who knows the path well and trusts that it will take them where it always takes them, to that deep, wordless place where the rain is still present but has become something softer than sound, where the amber light is still warm but has become something deeper than colour, where the wool throw is still heavy but has become something more than weight. My body is beginning to let go. I notice it in my hands first, the way they have relaxed against the cream wool of the throw, the fingers gently uncurled, lying open on the surface of it with a looseness that they cannot quite achieve when I am fully awake, when the day still has its claims on me. My hands are very warm. The wool beneath them is warm. The warmth passes between us without resistance, without effort, each giving and receiving in the simple exchange that is the body's only remaining transaction with the world at this hour. My shoulders have descended. There is always this moment, settling into sleep, when I become aware of how much I have been carrying in my shoulders that I did not know I was carrying, some residue of the day's attentiveness, some muscular memory of being upright and purposeful and directed, and then the moment when that is simply released, dropped, surrendered to the cushions and the throw and the old sofa that has held so many people in exactly this way, with exactly this patience for so many years. My shoulders are in the cushions now. The cushions have them. I do not need them back tonight. The citrus scent is very present with my eyes closed. Without sight, it deepens, not stronger exactly, but more complete, more available, as though the other sense has redirected its attention toward what remains and found more there than it had noticed before. The clean, bright, slightly sweet fragrance of the lemon trees drifts through the warm air of the dome in long, slow currents, and each breath I take carries a trace of it, a trace of living green, of ripening fruit, of the south in a warm glass room in the wet English evening, and each breath out carries nothing in particular, nothing that needs to be carried, nothing that needs to go anywhere at all. The rain continues. Of course, the rain continues. The rain will continue for many more hours, through the true darkness of the night, through whatever small hours follow, through to a morning that is not yet thinkable from here, from this sofa, from beneath this throw, from inside this warm glass room with its citrus trees and its candles and its extraordinary dome overhead. The rain does not need my attention to continue. The iron ribs of the dome do not need my attention to hold the glass. The flagstones do not need my attention to remain cool and sure and old beneath the sofa's feet. Everything is continuing perfectly well without my oversight, and this is, I always find, one of the most restful discoveries available to the almost sleeping mind. I am not needed anywhere tonight. The house is quiet. The night is long. The candles will burn for hours yet, and when they begin to gutter, the room will simply become a little darker, a little more intimate, the shadows thickening between the iron pillars until the dome above is only suggested, a vast dark shape against the equally dark sky, the rain still running down its invisible glass, the lemons still bright in the darkness of their trees. But that is later. That is very much later. Right now the candles are burning with a full, steady warmth, and the throw is heavy across my whole body, and the rain is making its perfect sound overhead, and the sofa has received me completely, and there is nothing that I need to do or think or be other than exactly this, exactly here, exactly now. I am very nearly there. The thoughts that come now are the thoughts of the almost sleeping, brief, imagistic, arriving without context and departing without conclusion, more like cards being shuffled slowly through the mind than like anything that requires my engagement or response. The ironwork traced against the glass, the small lemon luminous in the candlelight, the sound of the rain fractionally deeper than before, or perhaps the same rain heard through a slightly greater depth of sleep. The cream of the throw against the cream of the sofa cushions, merging, becoming simply warmth, simply held. The shadows from the candelabras move very slowly on the iron pillars. They have been moving like this since I entered the room, these long, lazy, amber-edged shadows, cast upward by the flames and swaying with each tiny fluctuation of the fire, each slow breath of warm air in the dome. And I find now that I have been watching them without knowing it, that some part of my awareness has been resting on their movement for some time, receiving it the way the eyes receive light in the moments before sleep takes them, passively, gratefully, without demand. They are the slowest possible movement, slower than breath, slower than the rain. They are the movement of something that has all the time in the world and knows it. The wool throw is extraordinary. I am aware of it now, not as a texture or a weight. Both of those perceptions have softened past the point of resolution, but simply as warmth, complete and bilateral, the warmth of the throw above and the warmth of the sofa below, and my own warmth between them, all three indistinguishable now, all part of the same warm whole, the same cream-coloured, amber-lit, rain-surrounded envelope of comfort that is the only world that exists for me at this particular moment, in this particular room, beneath this extraordinary glass. I breathe out. The citrus is still there, the beeswax is still there, the cold mineral breath of the Yorkstone is still there, beneath everything, under the sofa's feet, under the great flagged floor, under the centuries, patient and sure and very old, the ground note of the room, the bass note, the thing that everything else rests upon. And the rain, always the rain, running down the ancient glass in long, unhurried rivulets, finding the paths that water always finds through the slight valleys of the dome's curve, gathering at the iron ribs and running along them to their base, murmuring through the lead flashings and away into the stone gutters of the east wing, down and away into the dark garden, into the wet earth, into the deep roots of the old trees that have been standing in the rain since long before I arrived in this room, since long before anyone who is alive now arrived anywhere. The rain has been falling on this dome since it was built. The stone has been lying on this earth since it was cut. The iron has been holding the glass since the first glazier set the first pane into the first rib on some long past October morning, when the sky was probably much like this sky, indigo and full of rain, and the scaffolding was still in place, and the citrus trees had not yet arrived, and the candelabras had not yet been chosen, and the sofa did not yet exist, and there was nothing in the room but the dome itself, and the cold stone, and the sound of rain on new glass. All of that time is here now. I am resting in it. The dome is above me. The rain is on the glass. The candles are burning. The citrus trees are breathing their quiet green breath in the warm amber air. The Yorkstone is cool and sure beneath everything. The throw is heavy and warm across my whole self. I am here. There is nowhere else. The shadows move on the iron pillars, slowly, slowly, the slowest things in the room, slower than the rain, slower than my breathing, moving with the patience of shadows that have been cast by candles in this room for many generations, and will be cast for many more. The rain. The old glass, imperfect and beautiful, holding the indigo of the sky at arm's length, running with water in long silver lines that catch the amber and make something that is neither amber nor silver, but something entirely of this room, this hour, this particular quality of light. The citrus, faint and clean and bright, a breath of the living trees on either side of me, their dark leaves holding still. The lemons, quiet in the candlelight, each one a small, patient brightness. The wool of the throw, cream and heavy and warm, spilling onto the cold stone beneath the warm room beneath the rain-covered glass, the glass beneath the indigo sky, the sky above everything, the rain falling through it and on it and through it again. I am inside all of this. I am held by all of this. The iron holds the glass, and the glass holds the sky, and the stone holds the iron, and the throw holds me, and I am at the centre of it all, at the focus of the dome, the place to which the rain sound is directed, the warmest and most held point of this old and extraordinary room. Rest now. The candles are burning. The rain is falling. The dome is above me, its dark ribs spreading outward from the iron rose at the crown, reaching down to the stone walls, enclosing everything, enclosing the amber light and the citrus scent and the cream sofa and the heavy throw and me. Rest. The rain says rest. The stone says rest. The old iron says rest. The way old things always say rest, with the authority of everything that has lasted. Sleep. Sleep. I am warm and I am held, and the dome is above me, and the rain is on the glass, and the candles are burning, and the citrus trees are breathing, and the throw is heavy, and the stone is old, and the evening is very long, and there is nowhere I need to be, nothing I need to do, no one I need to be other than this. This warm, held, rain-surrounded, amber-lit, lemon-scented. This. Sleep.